This is video 2 as we upgrade the cooling on my supercharged Roush Gen1 Raptor. In this video, we're going to work with Grow Fabrics to design the solution and get it mocked up. Hey guys, how do we keep it dirty off-road? If you guys have been following along, I've been upgrading my truck's suspension for quite a while and doing a lot of major updates to this thing to make it way more capable off-road. As with anything else, the more capable you make something, the more maintenance, the more power that you're gonna need. There's so many more things that are always missed when you're talking about upgrading the capabilities of the truck. So it always bothers me when people start talking about, well, you know, just run it. I ran it for years. It works just fine. You'll be fine, right? And nobody takes into account the bigger picture. As I've been upgrading the suspension on this and been running harder, I've been running into an issue where now the truck is not able to stay as cool as it should. And I had to come up with a new solution to keep my transmission cool. Now, I wasn't having problems with engine cooling. The radiator on this truck is actually pretty decent. I was having problems with transmission cooling, mainly because I was having more fun and I was staying in the gears longer and I was really pushing this truck. Multiple occasions, I've actually got my temperatures up to 260 degrees on the transmission, so I needed a cooling solution. Now, part of the problem why I'm having cooling issues with the transmission has to do with how my cooling is set up front. And let me show you. It's kind of unique to the Roush, but this happens to most Gen 1 guys as well because, well, let me show you. This right here is the radiator bay on my Gen 1. And as you can see, it's dominated by the Roush intercooler. It's actually a heat exchanger. The Roush uses water cooling. And this heat exchanger is blocking the very tiny transmission cooler. It's hidden right back here, and it's really, really small. So I basically have two issues, right? The stock cooler is way too small, way too undersized for the application here, especially once we upgraded to 37s. We added all that extra load, plus all the extra load of running harder. And then second, whatever cooling that little guy could do, it's being blocked by this guy. Now, there are a couple schools of thought here when it comes to cooling. You can add more forced cooling, right? Something with fans. You can add, you know, make it remote and all that stuff. There's a bunch of ways to address it. For us, we're going to do a two-pronged approach. First of all, I'm going to replace my stock cooler for the supercharger with the Mashimoto one. This Mashimoto one is twice the thickness, but half the height. Let me show you. It's a little bit wider, but it's also not as tall. It's about half the height, but this thing, it's twice the width. Look at this thing. It's much wider. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit better than this because this thing is really thin, really small. This is more surface area than this one is, so I hope it addresses that cooling. Next, I'm going to get a larger oil cooler for the transmission. We're going to use this guy right here. So this is Mashimoto's universal cooling system, and it's actually not the one that is made for the Raptors. This is actually larger than the one that's made for the Raptors because, again, I'm putting a lot more stress through the truck and I want to have as much cooling capacity. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these are stacked so that there's only one layer of extra cooling that we're going to add for the truck. And keeping it down to a single layer is actually very important. When you see a lot of these big high-end builds, you start seeing them stacking coolers right on top of each other, kind of like we're showing here. But when you start stacking more than one layer deep, they actually block the flow to the other coolers behind them. The effectiveness of the coolers overall decreases. Air can't flow through the coolers and get to the radiators behind it. The front radiator basically acts as air deflector, and none of the coolers can cool correctly because none of the air is flowing through them, which leads to overheating. I don't want to end up in a situation where I improve transmission cooling, but then I impact my engine cooling. My engine radiator is blocked, and that leads to overheating with the engine. The goal here is to have a single layer of cooling on top of the truck's stock radiators, smaller so the airflow can flow around them, then add air dams to channel as much air through and force the air through the radiator system. You already saw us add the hood vents at the very top to promote airflow through the engine bay. If we did not add any air dams or air deflectors on the sides, all the air would just flow over the top and the truck would overheat. We need to channel the airflow and force it through the radiators as much as possible. And my ultimate goal here is for the radiators to create a perfect passive cooling solution so I don't have to do any complicated wiring. Now, a lot of you guys may be wondering, why don't you go with the remote cooling solution, something with fans? It comes down to cost and complexity. When you start adding the coolers in the back, they get pretty expensive. Just the solution alone and parts and everything is going to be like $1,500. And then that doesn't account for the custom fabrication that's required to do that. And then second, the electrical. This is all passive. This is gonna work with what's there now. We just gotta figure out plumbing. Now, if I ended up going with the rear mounted transmission cooler solution, active fans would be required to force air through them because there's no natural airflow back here. And then because of those fans, I would have to figure out the electrical, which means complicated wiring, possibly sensors, and it snowballs with the complexity. Now, there's two schools of thoughts with sensors in the back. You can go the complicated route, which is adding a temperature sensor with a relay that automatically turns on the transmission fans as they're needed, or the second, more simpler solution with adding a little upfitter switch inside the cab. I don't really want to do either. The complicated solution I think is going to be too complicated, it adds more point of failures. And the switch, well, I'm not a fan of adding a switch that I have to remember because I'm going to most likely forget about it. And by the time I know there's an issue, it's already too late and the transmission's already overheated. I wanted a solution to be passive. I wanted it to be set it and forget it. Now in the last video, you saw ourselves up with a good base, and we had Walter's Transmission help service the transmission by doing a full fluid swap, changed the filter, add a bypass valve, and added a new shallow oil pan with a plug to aid in maintenance later on. He also found a broken transmission mount, so we went ahead and got that replaced. And just that alone improved my operating temps from the 190s to 170s under load. So highly recommend Walter if you have any transmission work done. He has a ton of experience with Raptors and a ton of other vehicles, but Raptors in the 10 speeds and the 6R80s on the Gen 1s. Very good guy. He's not cheap, but he's worth every penny. Now, to bring my vision to life, we hired the best designer we know, Richard at Grove Fabworks. Now, full disclosure, I paid Richard's labor to design this solution out of pocket. For the last year, actually, I've been contacting multiple shops on help designing a solution for my Gen 1. They all declined because the development time and cost is high, and the market for a solution like this is small. So if I wanted a passive vision to come to life, I had to fund it myself, and luckily, Richard at Grove Fabworks agreed. After just a few days of dropping off the radiators, Grove had a concept drawn up, leveraging his Gen 1 behind the grill light mount. And just a few short days after that, he was ready to mock it all up. Dude, that's looking good though, man.
It looks cool.
And there's still enough room for it to go around it and everything. Now, is this going to be strong enough to hold everything, like just these two on the sides? Because that's my worry too, man. The amount of vibrations I've been putting through this truck has been wild.
That's why I find stronger isolators.
And this just connects to your mount on the...
Yeah.
I know we got to like let it move, but I think my only worry is this is going to have to like pass what we call the Ethan test, where you have somebody just manhandle the shit out of it and see if it doesn't move. And then I'm going to have to keep an eye on those isolators too over time. That seems odd that they would build that with just 2 points instead of 4 like the others.
Yeah, I don't really like the mounts that I'm forced to work with.
Could you build something off of this?
Yeah, I could hard knot to this
and then put
and then use whatever isolator I want.
On that down there? I wonder if that might work better. You might have an easier time finding an isolator for that, or be able to use 2 of those, right? 1 on each?
Yeah, because I could make this essentially and then just isolate this. Isolate the mount itself.
If that'll make it nice and stiff, that might be the better option. Because it's going to take a lot for these guys to wear out. Whereas this, I can see that wearing out in just a few runs.
Oh yeah, that one's not acceptable at all.
That's still fucking cool though, man. I cannot stress it enough, guys, how quickly he designed the solution. Something like this would take weeks at any other shop and require multiple iterations. Richard is by far one of the best designers I've ever met, and the speed at which he can design and bring something to life is truly impressive. We're talking just a few days for the first version to mock up, and he was so close, and we only had 2 versions and it was done. Now look at the size difference between the stock cooler and the upgraded cooler that we picked. It is a massive difference. More than twice the cooling surface and thickness. This thing is a big improvement over the stock cooler. Now, our initial mock-up was going to be on Richard's Gen 1. We wanted a solution to be usable on any Gen 1 should anybody else want to attempt this setup, even though it is very custom. We also wanted bolt-ons, so no modifications would be required to the truck, so no custom fabrication or welding. So Rich started with his light mount that mounts to the core supports at the front of the truck where the radiator already mounts. That's going to get removed anyways when we do the bigger cooler, because we're not using these hard lines Those fail. Now, these lines from the stock transmission cooler is another reason why I wanted a solution like this. These fittings right here at the bottom, you guys will notice them. They actually sit right here at the bottom of the front, right behind the bumper. These are actually known to fail. This is a failure point on the Gen 1 Raptors, and there's actually a technical service bulletin on it. When HM was actually working on replacing the stock radiator, mine actually snapped. And there was actually signs that mine were going to snap because they were already starting to sweat. So the metal was already starting to fatigue, but you can see it, mine snapped. So keep an eye on these if you have a Gen 1, guys, and definitely look at options to replace these hard lines and go with something else, or replace the hard lines completely, right? Because they will fail. This was our first time installing this whole setup. This was Richard's second version of the solution and the first mock-up, and everything fit perfectly. I was blown away. So it's the first time we mocked it up. Look at that. There's still some, but not much. Oh shit. That side does move a lot. This side's pretty solid. We may need to add a spot on this side, dude, honestly. But I think if you do this same setup, we could just drill right here, add a hole right there and be good.
But there's nowhere to fucking... That's why I didn't want to, because there's nowhere to bolt to.
You have to drill.
You can't even reach back there to put a nut on it. No, there's a wall right here.
Oh, there is?
And there's a wall right here.
Oh, that's right. Oh, because it's composite, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck, and if you do a rib nut, it's just going to sit there and spin. You could just come down to this.
Yeah.
Right? It's not ideal, but it's better than that.
Yeah.
Because that's too much. That'll eventually cause issues. But dude, that's coming out good, though. Now, after everything was done, when we started closing the hood, we did find that the top of the cooler was just a few mils too high, so we needed some rubber bushings that were a little bit shorter. But that is it for this video. We're going to cover that in the next video. We're trying to keep these videos short because, you know, I want to make sure that people actually watch them, and it was already getting too long. I left Richard to finish the design process, and he had a few adjustments to make. In the next video, we're going to come back and install the new bracket system onto my truck. And we're going to head over to HM, get the transmission cooler actually plumbed and completed with some custom lines, and finally go test. Now, if you guys need a shop that can design and build products and solutions quicker than anyone else, contact Rich at Grow Fabworks. He is truly one of the best out there, and I am so thankful for all the projects that he's helped me on. So make sure you guys to go support him. He has some really cool Gen 1 products, and he's working on Gen 2 and Gen 3 products too. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Questions or comments below. Please consider subscribing, and thank you for watching.